Hello, I'm Charlotte Patmore. I'm Vote for Patmore on the internet, and this is my podcast. Okay, today I'm gonna stick with the getting into music photography vibes, and I am going to talk about Bestival. Maybe I'll go on some tangents, but basically, when I decided that I wanted to be a music photographer, I think we talked about this in the Abbey Road podcast. I didn't have a portfolio, and so my technique to creating a portfolio was just applying to as many festivals as possible and just shooting as many festivals as possible to get a portfolio. And part of that, like by the end of the summer, I actually was getting to go to festivals with bands, and I kind of built up some connections, but at the beginning I had no idea how to do that. So something that I did do when I used to live up north is we used to volunteer, and I volunteered in loads of different ways, but my favorite one was being a green messenger, and we basically like worked on the recycling team and kind of like oversaw recycling at the festival. Really enjoyed the volunteering aspect of like that being a way to get into a festival, but also I knew that you could get into a festival for free basically. So I applied to Oxfam. I don't know if it still works the same way, but at the time you had to pay like £100 deposit, which did feel really intense, but you get it back as long as you do your shifts. So I applied to work at Oxfam for like a few festivals, and in the end, I actually got hired to work at those festivals, so I didn't have to do it. But to get my £100 back, I had to go and volunteer at least one festival. So I went to Bestival, and I'd never been to Bestival before at that point. It's quite fun because you got to go on a boat to get there. But Festival is right at the end of the festival season. And so by this point, I think maybe I was like doing the internship or I'd just finished the internship at Enemy, and I was trying to like impress them or like get more opportunities to shoot for them. And I'd said like, oh, I'm going to this festival, and if I take any good pictures, I can send them, and then like maybe they can post them. And they were like, yeah, if you get some good pictures, maybe we'll post them, but we have a photographer, so they have to be really good. And that was like mission accepted, obviously. So I tell the Oxfam team that I'm a photographer. I tell them all about myself. That was kind of like my technique at the festivals, was to just kind of tell everyone what my dreams, goals, and ambitions were. And people, like not always, but like that more often than not, people were really up for supporting me, which was quite nice. So I tell the Oxfam team that I'm a music photographer and like that's my thing. They're like, amazing, we'll put you on artist liaison. So all my shifts get put on, I get put on artist liaison gates. Like we basically were all just put on gates to check wristbands, and like obviously you could be anywhere in the festival, and most of the gates are really boring and irrelevant. But artist liaison gates were amazing because you were at a checkpoint that artists walked through, basically. So for every shift that I was on a gate that the artists were walking through, and I was checking the artist's wristbands, which was like really convenient to try and get portraits to try and impress Enemy magazine. So then my nighttime shift, we were put on this gate that basically was like, it was backstage, and it was the gate that the like headline artists had to access to get from kind of like the main stage or from the rest of the festival into their backstage area, like into their dressing room and like where their sleeper buses are and stuff. We essentially would only let the artists and their teams through this gate. And this meant that there was just kind of this constant stream of like the biggest artists at the festival walking through this gate. And I had my camera, like the Oxfam team were fine with me having my camera with me as long as I like still had my high vis and I was doing my job. And I'm chatting to all these people as they're walking through the gates, and I'm telling them my story. And I'm telling them that I want to take pictures and like how I want to impress this magazine. And they're all down, and everybody lets me take their portrait. And I get to take these like really, I mean, I don't actually think they're that good, these pictures, but they were very like in keeping with Enemy style and really like exclusive photographs because of I had this like strange access that nobody else had. So that was really good. And then also the other thing that I would do when I would get to a festival is I would just try and speak to the press team or people on the press teams or like other photographers and just try and kind of get a wristband to everyone who had like any form of power and be like, can you give me a wristband? Because sometimes that just worked. But at Bestival, all of the photographers were like, no, we're not going to help you. And so then my next point of call was that I just went around all of the security gates and told all the security my story. And, you know, the security are bored and they loved it. And I was telling them my story and being like, I want to take these pictures. You know, like, I have a dream. It's kind of like the scene in Rapunzel where she's just like singing, like, I've got a dream. I'm not going to actually sing it. Anyway, that was me at Bestival. And I'm going around just convincing everyone that they should believe in me, and they do. So the security are just letting me go backstage. I mean, again, I mean, it's so long ago, it's fine. But like, I wouldn't want anyone to get in trouble. They were really supportive of me getting these pictures, and like just everyone at the festival was just down for my tale. And then I'm telling the bands, and I'm like, I really want to take these pictures, and the photographers won't help me. And so they're like, yeah, we like, you can take our picture. So I get to take pictures of everyone, and I'm getting like really good access. And then by the end of the festival, I could go anywhere. And I had befriended like everyone in the festival. Like, it was so silly. Yeah, it was cute because I was telling my story and everyone was really resonating with it and then wanting to support me. It was just quite nice because like I made a lot of friends with the volunteers, and then I also kind of befriended all the security, and then I was befriending the bands as well. And it was just like a really nice end to that festival season because I'd worked really hard. And then I was just kind of like really good at like finessing my way around a festival at this point. And I also had the means to like get the photos into the right places as well. And so it felt very like full circle, that one. I think it's good to tell the Oxfam route story because that one to me felt like like it was gonna have the least level of opportunity. As I wasn't working like on a press team, I was working for a charity. But actually, because the charity supported the vision, I got way better access than even if I was on the official press team, I wouldn't have had access like that. And I wouldn't have had the opportunity, like I was just befriending the artists on the gate and like genuinely just having chats with them and like then getting like more interesting photos because they felt more comfortable around me than if I had shown up as like someone from the press team, which is interesting too, actually. But a very similar thing happened like way at the beginning of that festival season is at the Great Escape. I volunteered at the Great Escape literally to, I think my job was supposed to be to like put wristbands on people. Do you know, like, so when you arrive, you go and get a wristband put on. I think my job was going to be to wristband people, and then I just got to go to the festival. And I was just telling everyone that I was a photographer. And at this point, I wasn't even a photographer, but I was like, I'm a photographer and I want to go and take these pictures. I was just kind of like listing off all of the artists that I love to shoot. And they were like, oh, we need more people on the photo team. We don't have enough photographers on the photo team. So they just moved me to the photography team. And I didn't wristband anyone. I didn't know volunteering at all. They just put me on the photography team. And I think like with hindsight, like I wasn't being paid and the photographers on the photography team were being paid. So maybe I was slightly being taken advantage of potentially, but it was incredible for me at that point. So then they were just like, go and shoot whoever you want, who you think's cool, and we'll like submit all of the photos into this drive, and then all those pictures kind of get sent out because it was just like the official coverage from the Great Escape, I think. So they just kind of like send those pictures out to everyone, and then they can use them in press and stuff. And actually, from that, one of my pictures, it was so tiny, it was the tiniest picture, but one of those pictures did get printed in Enemy magazine. And that was the first time I'd ever had a picture printed in a magazine, which was really exciting. And the same thing, I literally just got that opportunity because I was just telling everyone that's that I wanted to be a photographer and that I wanted to shoot it. And I don't know how like helpful as a piece of advice that actually is, but for reflecting on my journey, it really was kind of like the foundation of how I got opportunities was literally just chatting to everyone, talking to people and telling them like what I wanted to do and what I was excited about and what I was interested in. And people like wanted to be involved and wanted to help me out. And that's good. That's good, right? Trying to think of like other festivals in that time period that were helpful. Because I used to shoot Liverpool Sound City. I used to love Liverpool Sound City because I would get to go home and I would always shoot it for Bidolito, which was like they were like the music magazine of Liverpool, and they published these like pink, almost like newspapers about music and about music in Liverpool. And it's just like a really special part of my journey, like the Liverpool music scene in particular, and also the support from Bidolito. Like they really helped. They really like believed in me and gave me lots of opportunities at the beginning. And so I would always shoot for them. And they would do a newspaper every day at the festival. So you would shoot all the pictures and then they would be printed. And then like the newspaper would come out the next day and then you'd do it the next day. And that was quite exciting because you got to see the pictures be printed like immediately. And I guess they were printed. So I did have stuff printed before, but I think the Great Escape one with Enemy felt was like, it's like a real, like paid for magazine or whatever. But I don't know what I was going to say about Beta Lita. But yeah, that was just a really good one to shoot. And they gave me loads of confidence because then I would be like, I'm a photographer for Beta Lito. And I think it's interesting how like the language around believing that it's real, like you should talk about yourself like you are a photographer instead of like you want to be one. I think that actually is really helpful. Classic manifestation, but it works. So, other kind of like tricks and stuff that I used to do to help me navigate festivals is so I wouldn't take any of my festival wristbands off. It was kind of like still a little bit maybe it wasn't trendy anymore at that point, but like in that kind of time period, it was quite like trendy to like keep your festival wristbands on and like never cut them off. And then it was like this badge of honor to be like, I went to this festival. And so because of that, it was kind of okay for me to keep them on. And I'd have my wrist full of wristbands because obviously when you move around the different festivals, all the different color bands have different meanings. And so if your wrist was full, it was quite easy to kind of like blag about the festival and just kind of like walk backstage if you just like confidently showed your wrist and you've got like every single colored wristband on your wrist. You seem like you should be there. That was kind of like at Fashion Week too, having loads of wristbands on. People were like, oh, well, they're obviously actually supposed to be here. It was a good signifier that they should trust you. And yeah, I did Camp Bestival. I think it was maybe that was the year after, but my little brother and sister would go to Camp Bestival. And so I wanted to go. And so I volunteered. I went and like worked on this at this coffee shop. It was called Tim Peaks, and it was like Tim Burgess from the Charlatans. He had this coffee shop that he ran kind of like in conjunction with the David Lynch Foundation. So the David Lynch Foundation would have a meditation tent at these festivals, and then they would have this coffee shop next to it that was the Tim Peaks coffee shop, which was obviously like Tim Burgess meets Twin Peaks there. Yeah. But anyway, that was quite cool because it was really like music, film adjacent. I love David Lynch and meditation, and it was really cool actually to get to be a part of that. And they asked me if I could make coffee, and I said yeah, and I couldn't, like, I had no idea how to make coffee. And when I got there, they were like, "Go and make a latte," and I was like, "I don't know how to do that," but I learned how to do it, so it was fine. But I was just kind of like blagging my way into any situation. I obviously wasn't very good at making the coffee. I made myself head of social media for the coffee shop. So I was like tweeting people, I guess Twitter was like big at the time and like less problematic. So I made myself head of Twitter and I was just tweeting like Rob DeBanks runs Bestival. I was tweeting him and he was tweeting back, and then that was like advertising the coffee shop, and then people were like coming to the coffee shop because they were seeing these tweets. And so it was actually working, like the marketing around it. So then like the signal was really bad at the festival. So I like went to the PR tent and I was like, hey, look, like I'm sending these tweets. I'm head of social media for the Tim Peaks coffee shop. And I need a media pass. I need access to the press tent. And I'm going to be needing the Wi-Fi password. And they were just like, yeah, valid, because like, I guess it was true. That was what I was doing. So they gave me a media pass and then I could just go wherever I wanted and I could use the Wi-Fi. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that they made myself head of social media. And they legit did make me head of social media. And yeah, I guess like at that point as well, like the companies really didn't care about social media. And so I just in lots of scenarios would kind of be like, hey, you need someone to do your social media, like I'll do it. And that worked really well. I did it for Enemy one year at Glastonbury. There Instagram account was just so bad and no one was really in charge of it. And I came up with this whole kind of system of how they could rebrand it and made all the layouts and stuff, made all the grids and like presented it to them. And I was like, look, I could run the social media. And they were just like, yeah, sure. Like, fine, you can run this thing. So then I was posting, because like on the picture desk, our job was to organize stuff for the magazine, but also to like run the website, and we would upload all the pictures to the website. So uploading pictures to social media is just essentially the same thing as like uploading pictures to the website. And yeah, in this one Glastonbury, I was like, yeah, I should be head of social media because you need to get these like great Instagram posts. And they let me do it. And basically, I still did my job, obviously, and I was uploading everything in the little van. But then I would go off to take pictures. I would just be like, oh, I've got to go to take some backstage pictures, and I would just go and watch people side of stage and take iPhone pictures, or go and take pictures of people backstage, like messing about for the Instagram. And obviously, they actually did really well on the Instagram because that's what people wanted to see. But also, also just think it's hilarious. Like, what it would be like, okay, this is my new job now. But yeah, that kind of worked. I think it's interesting reflecting on it because it always felt like I was kind of trying to prove that I was good enough or whatever. But when I look back on it, I was kind of just being like, no, I'm really good at this. I guess I was never like slacking off within it. Like I was always doing what I was supposed to be doing. And yeah, I love taking pictures, and I actually really enjoyed like uploading pictures and kind of doing all the picture desk stuff. So yeah, thank you for listening. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to me. How kind. And I hope that positive things come your way. I hope that you have a lovely day or night. And thank you so much for being here with me. Thank you to Connor Schofield for the music and to Poppy Marriott for the artwork. And I'll see you next time. Bye.